The Philippines and the U.S. set their sights on next year's joint military drills.
U.S. and Philippine forces have concluded their annual Balikatan military exercise with a commitment to elevate next year's drills amid Manila's growing rift with Beijing in the South China Sea.
Picture this: U.S. and Philippine forces, joined by an Australian surveillance aircraft, unleashing a barrage of high-precision rockets, artillery fire, and airstrikes. In a dramatic display of firepower, a mock enemy ship sinks during large-scale war drills in the disputed South China Sea. More than 16,000 U.S. and Philippine troops, alongside hundreds of Australian soldiers and military observers from 14 countries, converge for the annual Balikatan exercises. This isn't just training. It's preparation for war, says Philippine Colonel Michael Logico. As tensions escalate, China accuses the U.S. of stoking military confrontation and warns the Philippines to stop sliding down the wrong path. Join us as we dive into the strategic significance of these drills and the evolving U.S. Philippine alliance amid rising regional tensions. What would have made the Philippines President Marcos even happier than winning the presidency? A first congratulatory call from a foreign head of state. It was none other than the President of the United States, Joe Biden. The Philippine leader proudly told his family about that call a few days later over lunch. It put a smile on his face. Gregorio Araneta, one of the country's most prominent tycoons and Marcos' brother-in-law, told Reuters in a rare interview. The swift call from President Biden to President Marcos underscores the significant importance the Philippines holds for the United States. This renewed engagement with Marcos, despite his family's complex history, highlights the strategic necessity for the U.S. to strengthen its alliances in the region and maintain a balanced power dynamic to counter China's influence. For context, Marcos's predecessor, the populist Rodrigo Duterte, was openly hostile to the United States and was closer to communist China during his 6-year term. Duterte's pro-Beijing stance was unpopular with the Filipino public, failed to make any progress in bridging divides between the two countries, and didn't stop territorial disputes between the two nations. But the Marcos family shares a deep relationship with the United States. Marcos's father, the late strongman Ferdinand Marcos Sr., was a steadfast U.S. ally. Gregorio Araneta, a close friend of the Marcos family, reflects that Marcos Jr. is a pragmatist who spent a lot of time thinking before his election about how to get the Americans back for the sake of the Philippines' economy and security. This explains the rekindled closeness between the two countries. The Philippines is a former American colony and was granted independence after World War II. As part of what is commonly known as the First Island Chain in the East Asia region, it has long been a key node in U.S. defense strategy in the Pacific. The United States has been master of the seas post-World War II. Its naval prowess and outreach is unmatched in the world. China's sweeping claims in its South China Sea endanger the United States' security and trade interests in the region. More than a fifth of the world's shipping passes through the South China Sea annually. The narrow straits around the Philippines and Taiwan have vast undersea internet cables and are vital channels for U.S. naval forces patrolling the region. For the Philippines, China's incursion in the South China Sea endangers its security and economic interests. Marcos has taken a strong public stance in challenging China's expansive claims in the South China Sea, more than his predecessor. In a statement this March, after Chinese vessels fired water cannons at Philippine supply boat, Marcos said, "We seek no conflict with any nation, more so nations that purport and claim to be our friends, but we will not be cowed into silence, submission, or subservience." The incident was one of the several skirmishes between the Philippines and China, yet another example of the heightened tension. U.S. and Philippine forces, backed by an Australian Air Force surveillance aircraft, unleashed a barrage of high-precision rockets, artillery fire, and airstrikes. A mock enemy ship sunk as part of large-scale war drills in and near the disputed South China Sea. Military officials and diplomats from several countries watched the display of firepower from a hilltop along a sandy coast in Marcos Jr.'s northern home province. More than 16,000 military personnel from the United States and the Philippines participated in the drills. Along with them, a few hundred Australian troops and military observers from 14 countries also participated in annual combat readiness drills called Balikatan. The purpose of armed forces, why we exist, is really to prepare for war, Philippine Colonel Michael Logico told reporters ahead of the drills. There's no sugarcoating it. For us not to prepare, that's a disservice to the country. Balikatan is more than an exercise. It's a tangible demonstration of our shared commitment to each other, Lieutenant General William Journey, commander of U.S. Marine Corps Forces Pacific, said in a statement. It matters for regional peace, he said. It matters for regional stability. China read between the lines as it accused the United States of stoking military confrontation and warned the Philippines to stop sliding down the wrong path. The military exercises are the latest indication of how the United States and Philippines have bolstered a defense treaty alliance that started in the 1950s, amid their concern in recent years over China's increasingly aggressive actions in disputed territories in Asia. In 2014, both states signed the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, EDCA, that allows the U.S. to allocate funding to improve and construct facilities within existing Philippine military bases, as well as to deploy American troops on a rotational basis. The two countries identified 5 bases for the EDCA initiative in 2014, and then added another 4 bases, including the 2 in Cagayan, in 2023. In a recent statement to Defense News, U.S. Indo-Pacific Command spokesperson Commander Matthew Comer said the American government spent $56.8 million on the initial 5 EDCA sites from 2014 to 2023, during which it completed 14 projects. The Chinese government has denounced activities under EDCA. In a recent statement, they expressed concerns over the closeness of the U.S. and the Philippines in a March 2023 statement. Whereas the U.S. claims that such cooperation is intended to help the disaster relief efforts of the Philippines, and some Americans even tout the EDCA sites as a driver of the local economy, it is plain and simple that those moves are part of the U.S. efforts to contain China through its military alliance. Amid heightened tensions with China this year, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken assured the Philippines of U.S. support. We stand with the Philippines and stand by our ironclad defense commitments, including under the Mutual Defense Treaty, he said. The U.S. and the Philippines have a strong trade and investment relationship, with $22.6 billion in total goods trade during 2023 and an estimated $10.6 billion in trade and services in 2022. The U.S. is the Philippines' largest export market and is one of the country's largest foreign investors. The United States and the Philippines work together in the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Forum and in other international organizations, including the United Nations, ASEAN Regional Forum, International Monetary Fund, World Bank, and World Trade Organization. Duterte at a 2017 press conference said, "Our soldiers are pro-American, that I cannot deny. U.S. Philippines cultural ties are strong." More than 4 million Filipino Americans live in the United States. And public opinion surveys have consistently shown that Filipinos have high levels of trust in America compared to China. The U.S. Philippines alliance brings hope for a peaceful and balanced Southeast Asia. The Philippines, with its growing economy and strategic importance, is bolstered by American support in facing economic, diplomatic, and security challenges. The United States, committed to its allies, remains a key player in maintaining peace and stability. China seems to have taken a cautionary stance after the recent warming of relations between the U.S. Philippines. Time will tell whether the relationship is strong enough to deter China or if the country is just biding its time to take the U.S. and Philippines by surprise. What do you think? Will the U.S.-Philippines alliance bring an end to China's dominance in the region? Or will the newfound friendship fail the test of time? Is the Philippines strong enough to face China's economic, diplomatic, and security wrath? Is the U.S. willing to put boots on the ground if China and the Philippines were to escalate tensions into an all-out armed conflict? Tell us in the comments and follow Out There International as we continue to explore dynamics in the region.